This topic is outcomes and event probability, and in this problem they're using a six-sided die, kind of like the die you roll in Monopoly. Anyway, there are six faces and they're labeled 1, 2, 6, and you're going to roll the dice. And it says that the six possible outcomes are listed below. The six possible outcomes are listed below. Here's the outcomes. When you roll that die, it'll either land on a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, or a 6. Now they want you to answer parts A through C and write the probabilities as fractions. So for the first one, they want the event of rolling an odd number. Now what you're simply going to do is click on each box that is an odd number. So I would click on 1 and 3 and 5. Those are all odd numbers. And since that's 1, 2, 3 out of the 6 outcomes, that's my probability, 3 out of 6. Now when I put it into Alex, I just typed in 3 out of 6 and it took it as a correct answer, but then it gave me a message saying, hey, your answer could have been simplified. So you can simplify it down to equal 1/2. Either one will take it. However, I know that in the future I'm going to have to do some adding with these things. And when you add or subtract fractions, you have to have a common denominator. So I usually leave them in non-simplified form until the very end. Okay, so next we've got rolling a number that is less than 3, and a 1 is less than 3, and a 2 is less than 3. So I have checked off 2 of the 6 boxes, so that's the probability, 2 out of 6. Which that could reduce down to 1/3. Next we've got, okay, what is the probability of rolling an odd number? Let me pick out another number. Or a number less than 3. So the odd numbers were 1, 3, and 5. And the numbers that were less than 3 were 1 and 2. And it can be either the blue or the green. Now you'll notice that this one was checked twice, but you only count it once. So when I look at this, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 6 boxes checked off. So the probability on this is 4 out of 6. Now that reduces down to 2/3. But once again, Alex took it with the 4/6. I didn't have to reduce it. I guess out in the real world, most answers are reduced down to simplest form, so you might want to do that. And then the last one. Event A and B. This is rolling an odd number and rolling a number less than 3. Now when they say the and, it has to be both odd and less than 3. And there was only one of those, and that was this box right here where I circled it. That box had both blue and green on it. So the number 1 is the only number that is both odd and less than 3 at the same time. So the probability of here is 1/6. Now that fills in that part, and then it takes you on to the next part. Part B says, whoops, sorry about that. Find the probability of A plus the probability of B minus the probability of A and B. And I'm going to pause this for a second. Okay, I'm back. That didn't lay out the way I wanted it to, so I want to move this back up. So part B is find the probability of A plus the probability of B and then subtract the probability of A and B. Okay, so back up here, event A was right here and the probability was, for this one, and this is what I was talking about earlier, I'm just going to leave it with the same denominator because everybody else has that denominator. And then event B was this one, a number less than 3. So the probability of the green one, that was 2/6. And then we've got the probability of A and B, and that was this one, A and B, and that for my table was 1/6. And then I'm supposed to add the first two and subtract the second. So 3/6 plus 2/6 is 5/6. Sorry about that. That was my daughter going out the front door. 3/6 plus 2/6 is 5/6. Minus 1/6 is 4/6, which could also be reduced down to 2/3. Okay, now that's going to take us to this last part, which I can't fit in. It then asks you, when you calculated the probability of A plus the probability of B minus the probability of A and B, and then they want you to click this drop down box, which is kind of funny because when I did it, it didn't drop down, it dropped up. It just popped up. And when you look at it, the answer that we got was this 4/6 right here, which when I go back and look right here, that was a 4/6 or 2/3. But that came from event A or event B. So this actually just kind of proves a formula. So my answer would be this one. You would click on A or B. So whenever you add two probabilities together and then you subtract out what they call the intersection, what they overlap with, then you get the probability of one or the other. It always works that way. So I hope that helped explain that a little better. And if not, let me know and I'll try another one.